This is going to be an album on my Paul McCartney Band on the Run collection. Band on the Run was released on December 5th, 1973 in the US, and 2 days later on December 7th, 1973 in the UK. In the UK, the album does not contain the track Hell on Wheels. It had been released as a single on October 26th in the UK and was excluded from the album, much like some of the Beatles singles were excluded from their albums. It does not appear on the UK album. However, it does appear on side 2, track 3 on the US album. Rolling Stone did name it their album of the year for 1973, which just shows how much commercial potential and just how well artistically it had all come together for Paul on that album. Wings was down to a trio with Henry McCullough having left, and I forget the drummer's name who left just prior to Paul and Denny, Lane, and Linda leaving for Lagos, Nigeria to record the album. And there was a lot of tumultuous things that went on during the recording session. Paul was mugged at one point, and some of the master tapes that he had recorded were taken. He had been confronted by some local musicians who believed that he was trying to steal their music, and Paul assured them that he was not. I think probably the most, the closest that Paul came to replicating that sound was probably the track Mamunio. But nonetheless, Band on the Run is generally considered the album where Paul finally got it together after a number of misfires and some albums that were not very well critically received. Finally, he had come out with the album that his fans and the critics had always hoped one day he would make, which everything that's great about Paul McCartney, catchy melodies, he's got some medleys in there that actually work. Just some great Paul reprises that occur throughout the course of the album. So in general, Band on the Run was his most coherent, most commercially successful and accessible album, not only with Wings, but even as a solo artist to date. There were several singles that were released off that album. The first single, which again did not appear on the UK, but that was Hell on Wheels with the B-side Country Dreamer, which was released October 26, 1973 in the UK and November 12, 1973 in the US. The next single was Jet with Let Me Roll It as the B-side. That was released in the UK on February 15th, 1974, and on February 18th in the US. And then the flip side was changed from Let Me Roll It to Mamunio in the US on, actually, I back that up. It was released, originally the single Jet was released in the US on January 28th, 1974 with Mamunio as the B-side, and then it was switched to Let Me Roll It as it was released in the UK, in the US on February 18th, 1974. And then the final single, which was a US only single, was Band on the Run, backed with 1985, which I have that single right here. And that was released on April 8th, 1974. This is my vinyl copy of the album. And I don't know if you can see on the spine, but it just has Paul McCartney. It doesn't even say Wings on the spine there. And I was fortunate enough to get a copy that has the poster with the Polaroids on it. And then this is the inner sleeve with lyrics on the opposite side. And I have it on cassette. This was the Columbia, or the CBS release of Band on the Run. There are two different versions of this on Columbia. It's got this where it has a few featured songs from the album. And then there's also a version where there's a barcode right here. Track listing is the same on this as it was on the original album. The original release on cassette, however, would have been released on Capitol Records. It would have had the black right here, black border there. The spine would have been black with white lettering, Paul McCartney and Wings. That would have been the original release. But when Paul signed with Columbia Records in 1980, I believe it was, his catalog reverted to the Columbia format. And then on CD, the very first release on CD in the US was on the Columbia label. That was February 29th, leap year day, 1984. And it was released again on Capitol CD, December 1st, 1987. And that's the version that I have right here. And the back is a replica of the back of the sleeve. The CD looks like. And the booklet itself does not have the lyrics. It just has album credits there and some information on how to take care of your CD, which was part of all the early CDs. And then the second release was 1993. It was actually released in a remastered version as part of the McCartney collection on June 7th, 1993, along with some of Paul's other albums. And then it was released on CD for the fourth time as a 25th anniversary edition in 1999. And this is the version right here that I have. It's kind of in the clamshell. And it's a two CD set. The first CD has the original US version of the album with Hell on Wheels on the second side. And then on side two, or I'm sorry, the second CD, it's got some live versions of the tracks, snippets, different sections of different songs. It's got interviews with like Dustin Hoffman, Paul McCartney, Linda McCartney, and just kind of almost like an audio documentary on the recording of the album. It's got a replica of the Polaroid poster that you saw in the album version that I had. And then it's got a thicker booklet here with some notes on the album, interviews with people who are on the cover, and also a part of the recording of the album, some photographs of Paul, the lyrics. And that was the picture that was, again, on the inner sleeve. And then it was released again on November 1st, 2010 as part of the Archive collection. And this was also a 2 CD set. The first CD is the UK version of the album that does not have Hell on Wheels on it. And on CD2, there are some bonus audio tracks. There's Hell on Wheels, Country Dreamer, which was the B-side of the Hell on Wheels single, Bluebird, which was from the One Hand Clapping video, Jet from One Hand Clapping, Let Me Roll It, Band on the Run, 1985, and Country Dreamer, also from the One Hand Clapping film. And then Zoo Gang, which is actually a track that was a bonus track on the original Venus and Mars issue on CD. This is what it looks like when you open it up. And this is what the booklet looks like. It has some track information, and it also has the lyrics. And some pictures of the Wings lineup at that time. And that is my Band on the Run collection. Generally, when I think of my favorite Paul McCartney albums, it's a toss-up between Ram and Band on the Run, depending on what mood I'm in particular. One other thing that has to be considered is Paul, for a while, kind of abandoned the mullet that he had on Red Rose Speedway, kind of had it trimmed a little shorter, more somewhat of a shag. It looks definitely, you know, it's hard to tell here, but he's got it kind of more reasonable looking there on the back cover. And then when you get into Venus and Mars, obviously he's back to having the mullet again. So he's sort of mid-mullet here. Not quite as exaggerated as the Paul McCartney in the My Love promotional video, where it's full on mullet and all its glory. Here it's kind of, it's in transitional period. It's not quite a mullet, but then he would grow out the mullet again for Venus and Mars subsequently, especially when you see in the gatefold there. So, but as far as the tracks go, I think Band on the Run is a stellar track. I love the fact that there's the two pieces, the stuck inside these four walls, which then transitions into the heart of the Band on the Run track. I love Jet. It's a timeless, fantastic track. Bluebird is great, kind of a breezy, mellow, easy listening track for Paul. I think that Mrs. Vanderbilt is a lot of fun. Let Me Roll It, I think, is one of Paul's greatest tracks of all time. I think he wrote that with John Lennon in mind. Mammonia is okay. I think you'd be kind of disappointed to know that he recorded it in Lagos and didn't have a song that had those rhythms in it. No Words, I was surprised that Denny actually was the lead singer on that. For a while I thought it was actually Paul, but I enjoy that track quite a bit. And I also like Hell on Wheels. I feel it fits really great on side 2 of Band on the Run, and it feels odd to hear that not as part of the album. And then Picasso's Last Words, I think it's just a fun kind of a throwaway track, like Paul does so brilliantly and effortlessly. And then 1985 is another instant Paul classic that ranks up there with his best. So I definitely give Band on the Run a 10 out of 10. But that is my Paul McCartney collection. Love to know what you think about the album and what you might have in your collection. And as always, thanks for watching.